Hello. Okay, so I've kind of been going down a little bit of a DC rabbit hole recently. So I decided to wear a DC shirt today, and now the dog is coming down the hallway. We have dog, at least for a little while. Um, yes, you. You are a dog. He's like, but I want to look out the window. Yeah, well, that messes up my light. Hi. Hi. Hi, Bippy. So yeah, I've been going down a little bit of a DC rabbit hole recently, and so I decided to wear a DC shirt. This is it's a woman's world, is what the shirt says, and it's got Supergirl, Wonder Woman, and Batgirl. Also later today that I'm recording this, my dad and I are going to go see Death on the Nile, which is based on the Agatha Christie book of the same name, and in the process, Gal Gadot is in that. So I'm like, okay, I want to go see this. We saw the Murder on the Orient Express as well several years ago and very much enjoyed that. So yeah, Death on the Nile should be good. Going into this video, hi. Yeah, I know you're fluffy. My puppy, he's so fluffy, baby. Yeah, I know. The concept for this video kind of came out of when I was looking over a bunch of the different Haki users in One Piece, and part of this also came out when I was like doing some research for like some of the other videos I've done recently. And it kind of occurred to me that within One Piece, we of course have this kind of select-ish group of people that can use Conqueror's Haki. And if you saw the thumbnail for the video and read the title of this video, then you basically know where I'm going with this. But we see the select group of people that have Haki, you know, Luffy, Zoro, Roger, Rayleigh, Kaido, Big Mom, Kid. Law had it, then that's not going to surprise anybody. Yamato, Katakuri, Doflamingo, several other characters that we've seen that possess it, Whitebeard being another one, that we've seen that possess Conqueror's Haki, and also, Ace and such as well. Either characters that are alive that have it, or past characters that have had it. And there's like two like non-canon characters, Bullet and whoever else, but I'm not going to worry about them. And what we see, and of course, Boa Hancock also has Conqueror's Haki. And what I was kind of looking at over these, and like kind of looking over kind of the quote unquote qualities of a king, because of course Conqueror's Haki is, the supreme ruler's Haki. Those that have it tend to have very high-ranking positions, as in Sengoku, who was, the fleet admiral for the Marines, and also, like, in regards to, like, if Garp and Dragon have Conqueror's Haki, that's not going to surprise anybody in the slightest down the line. Yeah, if ever that's revealed, it's like everybody's just going to be like, we're not surprised by this, keep going. That's not going to surprise anybody. But one of the other things that I thought of is, in regards to all the people that we've seen that have Conqueror's Haki, we only have 2 females that can use Conqueror's Haki. And of course, the first one that we're introduced to in regards to that is, of course, Boa Hancock. And the other one is, of course, Charlotte Winland, Big Mom. And then, of course, later on, we then have Yamato, who can use it as well. So we have 3 that can use Conqueror's Haki, And we haven't really seen any other, female characters that kind of allude to the fact that they may have Conqueror's Haki, or that they may develop it later on down the line. Because as much as I love Nami and Robin, I don't quite think they have the, not capacity to have Conqueror's Haki, but like something along those lines. I don't see Nami or Robin developing Conqueror's Haki. Out of the rest of the Straw Hats, I could see Sanji developing it possibly, and also maybe Usopp, since they make those jokes that like, oh, when Usopp's like pretending that it's his Conqueror's Haki when it's like Big Mom's Haki, that's going off. It's like that one wouldn't really surprise me, but like I don't see Brook or Jinbei developing Conqueror's Haki. Same thing with like Chopper. I don't see them developing it. But and if if Yamato does join the crew, then she has Conqueror's Haki, so that would be nice too. Just like add another one onto the crew. Then like Yamato and Luffy can like help train Zoro on how to use his Conqueror's Haki. And I think at this point in time, they just need to like start training like Nami and Chopper and whatever else Usopp needs to learn about like his armament Haki, help training him in those instances. They just need to start training them with their Haki as well, so they can have Haki as well, and like kind of just see where like Robin is with her Haki and everything like that, and like help her with training some of that a little bit more, just to help her be a little, just to help all of them be stronger. But I kind of was looking through all these different qualities that we see that these different people that exude Conqueror's Haki have. And like, yeah, some of them fall on the bad scale of things in regards to, Doflamingo and Kaido and, several other characters. And I was like, well, what other character in the story thus far has kind of exhibited a lot of these same traits? And of course, the answer that I landed on, because I just wanted a roundabout way to do this video, is of course Vivi, Nefeltari Vivi, Princess of Alabasta. And I was like, okay, so I kind of wanted to go through like some of the different instances where we see her demonstrate something that is this quality of a king. And there's moments in the story where we've had, it's Marigold and Treble, Boa Marigold, and then Treble from the Doflamingo family, Don Quixote family, whatever. That have like said, oh, well, they possess the qualities of a king. There's proof that these people possess the quality of a king. Now, we know, of course, that, both observation and armament Haki are something that anyone can awaken. Like animals can awaken it. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some form of a sentient tree out there that can awaken it, for all I know. Maybe that's what Ryukogu is. Maybe that's what Green Bull is. He's a sentient tree that came alive, and he has both observation and armament Haki. And they're just like, just make that tree an admiral. Maybe that was the concept. I don't know. That's probably been said already. That was a joke. But what we see is that these are different people who have like, tried to achieve these high aspirations. And, whether it's, for a good thing or a bad thing can be left up for debate, because being ambitious and earning significant positions does not guarantee that you are a good person. It also does not guarantee that you are a bad person. Because like if we just look through the list of people who have Conqueror's Haki, we of course have Goldie Roger, who was of course this, pirate captain, king of the pirates, was, the leader of this crew that, was the first crew to find Laugh-Tale in, like 800 whatever years, and, sail all the way around the Grand Line multiple times. He fought all these great battles and everything like that. And then, of course, we have Silver's Rayleigh, Dark King Rayleigh, who is, of course, his second in command. And, of course, the current analogy of this is, of course, Luffy and then, Zoro, of course, in that regard for them. And of course, like Rayleigh was like had this, he was the right-hand man of the king of the pirates, so he has to have this great ambition in of himself. Plus, we see him be very strong himself. Although strength does not automatically mean that you're going to have Conqueror's Haki. And then, of course, we have Whitebeard, and his goal was to want to create this family and protect his family, which I would look at as a rather ambitious goal. Now, whether or not he had his Conqueror's Haki all the way back when he was like on Rox's crew, or if like it like awoken later on, we don't know. But like we kind of see that with Whitebeard, like his Conqueror's Haki kind of, I would say, possibly came out like at some point, like maybe one of the first people that he had recruited onto his crew, like maybe one of the first times that they got extremely hurt, and like maybe that was when his Conqueror's Haki activated. Or maybe like something happened during one of the battles with the Rock Pirates that like, oh, his Conqueror's Haki awoken because someone on the crew that he cared about, or like someone else got in danger and he like activated his Conqueror's Haki. We don't know exactly when that happened. And then, of course, we have Sengoku, who is, of course, as I mentioned, he was the, the fleet admiral of the Marines. He's the only Marine, canon-wise, as far as we're aware, that has Conqueror's Haki. As I said, if, like, Garp has it, we're not going to be surprised by that, but that just hasn't been revealed yet. Or he just doesn't have it. We don't know. But Sengoku, he's also, like, he's the great Buddha. He's, Sengoku, I would say, definitely strikes me as a very good person, and I think I've stated this before. I do not believe that Sengoku was the fleet admiral in charge when they were basically trying to hunt down Goldie Roger's child. I don't think he was the one that was in charge at that point in time. I think that was still probably Kong that was doing that, and I don't think that Sengoku necessarily had a direct role in that. But he was still, of course, like, willing to kill Ace, but it was also... It's one thing to, like, go and try to kill a newborn child. It's another thing to, like, try to kill this pirate that has, shown that they have, a pirate tendencies and everything like that. I guess, in his mind, there's a difference there. But I do think Sengoku had some reservation, considering the fact that Ace was also, like, Garp's grandson. And then, of course, we have, Charlotte Linlin, and of course, she is, Big Mom. She has this huge family, although admittedly having a huge family does not guarantee that you are going to have Conqueror's Haki, but she's also went through these different traumatic experiences in regards to being left by her parents on Elbath, and then, of course, with, her hunger pang rage that happened when she was a child on Elbath, and then, of course, going into that, we have everything that happened with Mother Caramel on the island that would become Totland. And, Big Mom just kind of has, like, grown, literally grown, but also, like, her power has continued to grow and everything like that. And I think one of the reasons that the Soul fruit works so well for her is because of the fact that she had this very strong soul to begin with, and that she had Conqueror's Haki, and that she had awakened it at some point. Again, we don't know when she awakened it. It could have involved something with, like, someone tried to hurt one of her children when they were younger, or it could have involved something later on, because we don't know. But she obviously, has this, huge amount of, her soul definitely helps feed her devil fruit, and that I think can make her stronger in regards to that. And then, of course, we have Don Chinchao, who's, of course, he was the leader of the, the infamous Hapu Navy and everything like that. And, like, he went on the, he had these great battles against Garp before Garp finally, like, smashed his head in. Literally. But also with that, it's like Chinchao, we don't know too much about his history, but he obviously was quite ambitious in the fact that he had amassed this huge treasure and everything like that. And we don't know if Sai has Conqueror's Haki. I don't think he does, because I think that would have been, like, shown at some point by now. But just, like, with the way that he was protecting Baby 5, I think that would have been brought to the surface, but it wasn't. And then, of course, we have Kazuki Odin, of course. And he, he was supposed to be the Shogun of Wano. He's been doing all these great feats since he was a child. If he, he, did the whole Hour of Legend and everything like that, where he's, in the pot and protecting his, scabbards and everything, and everything that goes into that. There's this whole, thing there where it's just, like, it shows again and again and again that, yeah, he's done some rather very, very impressive things, and he just also has Conqueror's Haki. But he also, when he was dancing in the streets naked, I also say that shows qualities of a king, because he was willing to take the burden of making a fool of himself in order to protect his people. So there's something there. And then, of course, we have Kaido, and he's, the strongest creature in the world. He's, got the Ua Ua no Mi. He turns into a freaking dragon. He's got, Oni blood in him. So that's not really surprising that he has Conqueror's Haki. He's, Rox's crew itself was kind of like a bargain bin sale on Conqueror's Haki. You got Linlin, you got Kaido, you got Whitebeard. Shiki, I don't think, has Conqueror's Haki. We have no idea about Captain John or any of the others, and I wouldn't be surprised if Roxy Zebek himself had Conqueror's Haki. That wouldn't have surprised me in the slightest. And then, of course, we have Katakuri. Now, Katakuri I would put as part of his Conqueror's Haki. I wouldn't be surprised if that awoken as a result of what happened to Brûlé when they were children. That wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. And his determination, his goal was to be this best big brother for all of his younger siblings. This best, perfect, older, strongest big brother for all of the siblings that he had. for all the younger ones. And he achieved that goal. He was just perfect. He never lied down on his back, blah, 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 blah. And then, of course, everything happens with Flampe, and she's an idiot, and I don't care if she dies. But, so we see that with Katakuri, that his ambition came out of wanting to protect his siblings. And of course, we've seen like Roger had Conqueror's Haki, so did Ace. And, Kaido has it, so does Yamato. Big Mom had it, so does Katakuri. But as far as we're aware, none of Katakuri's siblings have Conqueror's Haki, because we never saw, Perospero never displayed it. None of the other children seem to have displayed it. But Katakuri is the one that has. And then, of course, we have Doflamingo. His, of course, his Conqueror's Haki, of course, awoken when everything that happened when he was a child, with, him and his father and his brother basically being, crucified by the townsfolk after they found out that they were, celestial dragons and everything like that. So his, awoken under great duress, which seems to be the case when it comes to Conqueror's Haki, which I will be going over part of that when I get to Vivi. But what we see with, with Doflamingo is that he also had these ambitions of, his ambition is to just cause chaos everywhere. He loves the concept of just seeing chaos run amok everywhere. And, he, everything that he did in Dressrosa, when he first took the country from Riku, and then later on during the Dressrosa arc and everything like that, we see his ambition there. So not really surprised there. And then, of course, we have, Shanks, who pretty much a lot of people consider the fact, in the very first chapter of One Piece, when, Shanks saves Luffy from the Lord of the Coast, he seems to exude some form of a force of will that scares, the Lord of the Coast, and the Lord of the Coast runs away. And a lot of people think, oh, that's the first time that we see, like, Conqueror's Haki in the story is when Shanks does that. I can buy that. I can buy that very much if Oda just wants to retroactively say, yes, that was Shanks having Conqueror's Haki. Whether or not that was like the moment that he awoke his Conqueror's Haki is left up for debate, because he may have already had it by then, and he just, used it then. But another thing that I do see for Shanks that also shows his, kind of kingly qualities is during the moment when he's in the bar and having to deal with Higama, that, Higama's, breaking the bottle on him and, like, getting him all covered in alcohol and everything like that. And Shanks literally is just like, that's okay. He has the speech where it's just like, that's okay. You can make fun of me. You can, pour drinks on me, spit on me, whatever. But if you hurt my crew, if you make fun of my crew, then I got a problem with you. That whole moment. And of course, that moment resonates with Luffy, because we see basically the same thing happen at Jaya with him, between him and, Bellamy. That happens there. So there's that, comparison there. And then, of course, as I mentioned, we have, Boa Hancock, who, of course, has, Conqueror's Haki. And she's, given the fact of what her and her siblings went through, in regards to being slaves of the world government and everything. And then, they escaped because of Fisher Tiger. And then they eventually ended up, with Rayleigh. And I think that maybe something that may have happened was that, like, something happened during that time frame when they were in Marie-Joie that, like, awoke her, Conqueror's Haki. And then, like, maybe during the time frame that they were with, Rayleigh and Shaki and Granny Neon, that, that maybe he helped train her in how to use her Conqueror's Haki. And then from there, then they return to their people, and then they, to the Amazon Lily, and they, of course, are just like, oh, we had, go through this whole thing, and, we had to go and fight the Gorgon, and blah, 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 blah. And she has been shown, I mean, like, I've stated this before in videos, I am not the biggest fan of Boa Hancock. She is beautiful, she is strong, she will protect her sisters and her people, I'm not going to argue with that. My issues are with her personality, and her treatment of small animals. And small children. But, it's like, she is willing to, do what she needs to protect her people and everything like that. She turns, like, an entire crew of Marines into, statues, which I just find hilarious. Okay, I do find that part funny. But, so we have Boa Hancock there. And then, of course, going on down the line, we then have, Ace. And, of course, he awoke his Conqueror's Haki when he was a child, trying to protect Luffy and Sabo against the Blue Jam pirates, if I remember correctly. And of course, later on, he, found, he left on his own and, started his crew, the Spade Pirates. And then, of course, we see all of that happen. And like his ambition shifted from wanting to become a great pirate to prove that he was a different kind of pirate than his father into wanting to see Whitebeard become king of the pirates. So his ambition shifted, but that's not a bad thing. And then, of course, we have Luffy, and we've pretty much seen, what he's been capable of with his Conqueror's Haki, even, using it with his Ryuo and everything like that. His, of course, Conqueror's Haki seems to have awoken sometime after the end of Thriller Bark, and then going through, dealing with Duval and the Flying Fishmen Riders or whatever they were called, and and then into all the way through everything that happened in Sabaody, and then of course into Impel Down, and then through Impel Down into Marineford. And so we kind of see those things happen with Luffy, where he starts to awaken his Conqueror's Haki, and then of course during the time skip is when he gets to train with Rayleigh. And then, of course, as I said, we have, Zoro, and like his ambition is to become, the greatest swordsman in the world. And he's, the vice captain or first mate or whatever to Luffy. Same thing that you kind of see with like Roger and Rayleigh. Hi, what you doing? He's like, I'm just laying here, Mama. But, we see a lot of that when it comes to, Zoro and everything. Like, he recently fully awoken it during, Wano and everything. And, he used it to fight against Kaido and then against King. And then, of course, we have Eustace Kid, which, it's just stated by Kaido that, like, Kid has Conqueror's Haki. We haven't really seen him use it, so I don't really know. And then, of course, we have Yamato, who is this, the daughter of Kaido, and she's the Oni princess, and her Conqueror's Haki seemed to have awoken when she was a child after everything that happened with Odin. And like just between the time that the Hour of Legend happened and then when like Kaido threw her into like the cave dungeon cell or whatever with the samurai, and she, her Conqueror's Haki had awoken at that point, and she's probably spent a lot of her life trying to learn how to use it, so that way she can, fight against her father, and maybe she's learned how to, like, coat her weapons and armament a lot sooner, probably just from, like, seeing the way that her father fights, and the way that he's probably beaten her up in the process. So we see all these different qualities that seem to come into what are part of making a king. Different members of, like, this group seem to represent these different qualities. And now I'm going to go over the qualities that I think Vivi has. And that kind of show that she has this at least potential to have, Conqueror's Haki. First off, I do not think most people in Alabasta know what Haki is, because if they did, they should have used it against Crocodile, in all honesty. Admittedly, retrospectively, it's like, oh, well, Oda didn't quite have Haki worked out at that point in time, so they couldn't have used it against Crocodile. But, down the line, like, I would say that it's like, okay, well, we need to find out what Haki is, because if some other Logia guy shows up, we need to be able to fight him. And, like, they learn about Haki. That would be fun. But, okay, so I know you want to look out the window again. You can lift the shade. It's not that hard. See? Okay. I love you. Hi. What you doing? You get a couple of dog treats in this video. Rainy popping up. Rainy, I just want to lift this so I can look out the window. You act like it's hard to lift a shade. He's like, I don't care about the shade, but I just will lay down here. I'll open the shade when I'm done recording and probably open the window too. You're fine. But so in regards to Vivi, she's born royal. That's not necessarily a requirement, of course, because like Luffy wasn't born royal, unless you want to go with the whole thing of like, oh, his mother or his grandmother is a celestial dragon, or like based on my other videos. Same thing with you know, Roger wasn't born royal as far as we're aware. And like Ace was technically like, I guess, like the prince of the pirates, considering his father was the king of the pirates, but like there's a difference there. And, you know, most of the other characters, the only one that I could say that full on has like quote unquote royal blood, even though like, yeah, Linlin's a queen and like Katakuri's her son, so there's technically that, and like Kaido's like this emperor, you know, blah 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 blah. But that like legitimately have like royal blood, it's not like they came from a royal line, would be Doflamingo as far as I'm aware. And, you know, he's the only celestial dragon so far that we've seen, fallen or otherwise, that has exhibited Conqueror's Haki. And that's probably because the rest of the celestial dragons haven't been under any form of like type of, you know, stress or and duress or anything like that that would require their, you know, like require like an awakening of Haki. I would say the only celestial dragons that could probably use Haki of any means would be like the 5 Elder Stars, the Gorosei, of course. Possibly Milzigard could possibly learn how to use it, which wouldn't surprise me in the slightest, because he at least seems to be like one of the only ones that has some form of ambition. And his ambition is, of course, to make things better. And then, of course, I wouldn't be surprised if Im-sama has Conqueror's Haki and Armament and Observation Haki, depending on whatever the heck Im-sama is. I wouldn't be surprised if they have that. But like Vivi's born royal. And then we see this when she's a kid. We, of course, have what happens with the Sunasuna clan, where she shows that she's determined to not be this like lazy or ignorant royal. She wants to be out and about with her people, make friends with these other kids and everything like that. And like her father seems to have encouraged that. And like the Nefeltari family, and I think I mentioned this in like one of my other videos where I talked about like Vivi's parents, and either the Mother's Day or the Father's Day video or the one of the couples videos, I don't remember which one, but like Cobra does not strike me as, and the Nefeltari family does not strike me as these ones that like hold themselves away and above from their people. They decided to leave Marijois, like not become one of the, you know, the other 20th family that like lived in Marijois. They went back to their kingdom because they thought that they could do better for their kingdom. Tilt you away from the dog. They thought that they could do better, you know, with their kingdom in regards to being in the kingdom itself, not just like being up on like a high mountain somewhere on top of the world. The dog is weird. But so, you know, it's like they don't strike me as this type of family that's these types of royals that are just going to like, you know, sit in their palace and ignore the rest of their people. Other kings and queens we've seen throughout One Piece do that. But the Nefeltari family does not strike me as that. And, you know, Vivi becomes friends with Koza and the Suna clan, and she doesn't like demand to be made part of the Suna clan. She's like, I am the princess and I demand to be made part of this clan, this group of children that are playing. She's like, no, I'll fight my way in and prove that I deserve to be here. And she does. And she becomes like the second in command next to Koza, which is so funny. And like, I think there's like an incident where she's like kidnapped as a kid, and then like she like bites the guy, like literally bites the guy that tried to kidnap her. And I'm just like, okay, go Vivi. And then of course we have Puppy. And then, of course, we have the incredible princess incident, which is when Vivi and her father are at the Council of the Kings. Now, I don't know if this is supposed to be Reverie that this happens at, or if it's just this like kings of like the Grand Line of like Paradise, because like Wapple's there, but I don't know. But there's the incident where like Wapple got very angry at like Cobra, like didn't like what Cobra was saying. And like after the meeting, he, you know, quote unquote, accidentally slapped Vivi. The dog did not flinch. Okay, that's good. Well, at least I know the dog. No. Okay. I never hit Rainy. I don't hurt the puppy. Although he has made an extremely funny noise the first time we took him to the vet, and he had to get his temperature taken a specific way. And he made the funniest noise I've ever heard. It sounded like a goose that was dying, being strangled to death, and it was funny. He was like, no, Mommy, I never made that noise. You don't have proof of it. You didn't record it. kind of wish I had. But you know, Viva Las Vegas. No, actually, it'd be Viva Las, I guess, Rain Dinners. I don't remember what city that was in Alabasta. But what happens with Vivi is, you know, she gets slapped by Wapol, and then she just like gets up and she just you know, apologizes for clumsily bumping into him and everything. And, you know, Dalton was impressed by this, by her diplomatic spirit. And then, of course, afterwards, after Wapol's gone and everything, because he's just like probably like stomped out of sight, angrily, just like, darn it, she didn't fall for it, like goes off, like she need to fool me, like wanders off. But like she just cries about how much it hurt her, which I'm like, she's a small child. She got slapped by this giant a-hole. So yeah, no, I don't blame her for crying because it hurt. Because it's probably like, I mean, like she can probably take a hit to a degree from like a kid her own age, because this would have been after what happened with the Sunasuna clan, but it's not the same thing. It's not a child hitting another child. This is a full-grown adult hitting a child, which is wrong in any stance. But like Dalton is impressed by this, by what she, you know, does. But even at this young age, she can tell that, you know, this would have caused like an international incident if she didn't just like, you know, calmly, show her humility and just pretend like she was the one that accidentally bumped into Wapol. And then we have, of course, after that, we have going to work for Baroque Works, which I would put in and of itself. She sees that her country is going to be in trouble, and her and Igaram and Karu, of course, like they head and they go and they become part of Baroque Works. They go and they become part of Baroque Works, and like they become like these, the numbers officers, the higher ranking officers and everything. And, you know, they put up this whole act. And I'm aware of the fact that Vivi was not intentionally supposed to be like the Princess of Alabaster. That came later. But, you know, so I'm aware of that. But like what we see is, you know, Vivi is willing to put herself on the line, which I've kind of put this as like bravery as well. She's willing to put her own life on the line, put her own safety on the line. She left the safety of her kingdom and of her palace to go and try to do what she could to figure out this threat and try to stop this threat that was to her own country, to her people, because they mean so much to her. And like Odin did the same thing with that to a degree. He, you know, was willing to, let himself be made a fool of by dancing naked in the streets. And, you know, that type of a thing. And then we have, when she joins the Straw Hat, she's willing to join these pirates that she just met in order to try to, like, free her kingdom, even if it means, like, paying them to have them help her, which is hilarious. And, of course, they end up doing it in the end for, like, I don't remember if they ever get paid anyway, or whatever, but, like, they end up doing it because it's the right thing to do. Because Vivi's their friend. But, you know, so she's, like, willing to, again, put her, you know, she's still willing to like fight with her own hands, but, you know, which I'll get to in a second, but like she's still willing to like do that, but she's also like, she understands the importance of like asking for help, which is where I go into humility, and I can talk about Luffy right here, because with Vivi, what happens is when Nami gets sick between, you know, Little Garden and when they get to Drum Island, when Nami gets sick, you know, they go to Drum Island, and then, like, both Vivi and Luffy get down and they bow and they plead. You know, they're on their hands and knees, you know, pleading with, you know, the people of Drum Island to bring them a doctor that can save Nami. And, you know, they're putting their humility on the line to try to save their friend. And, like, yeah, Vivi hasn't, like, known Nami very long, but there's this camaraderie bond that's there. And so we see that, and, like, of course, Luffy is also, you know, Luffy kind of shows the same thing of, like, putting his friends' lives before his own when he, you know, climbs to the top of, you know, the Drum Rockies to where, you know, where, you know, Kureha and Chopper are, and, like, you know, says, take care of my friends first before you worry about me, when, you know, they find him and Nami and Sanji. And so we see a lot of that. And, you know, so, and, like, also we have, Zoro has also demonstrated humility with that, with being a quality, because he, like, bows down and he asks Mihawk to train him. Mihawk is another character that if he is, like, ever shown to, like, have Conqueror's Haki, it's like, we're not surprised by this, if that ever happens. But so we see that happen. And then I would rather put here is also bravery. Vivi demonstrates bravery when she is, willing to try to use her own two hands, putting her own self at risk in order to try to save her country. Part of that goes into when she went and joined Baroque Works to try to see what she could do to try to stop Baroque Works, from the inside. And then, of course, she's willing to, try to do everything she can. Like, they try to find Koza, but he's not where he's supposed to be. And then, like, she does all this other stuff. She even tries to, like, literally decapitate Crocodile, even though he's a Logia and it didn't actually do any damage. But, like, if Vivi had known Haki, Crocodile would have been dead at that moment. If Vivi knew Armament Haki, she would have, like, Armament Haki'd up her Peacock Slashers and, like, Crocodile, oh, F. I'm dead, type of thing. That would have been funny. That would have made Alabaster a lot shorter. Just like, okay, well, that's done. Now let's go find. Everybody done beating up the rest of Baroque Works? Yeah, we're good. That would have been funny. But, she's willing to put her own life on the line. And the other part of that is when she's, the moment when she is literally, like, standing in front of the army that is being led by Koza, where they're, like, rushing at Alabasta, and she's like trying to plead, like have have Koza hear her voice, and it's it's that moment where they just miss each other, of course, and like they're it's like she's trying to make him hear her, and I would say that type of a moment would also be something that I could say could like be a potential for like awakening Conqueror's Haki. So, that moment happens there. And also there's moments where, like, Crocodile literally has her by the throat and she's, like, under an extreme amount of duress. And then, of course, there's a moment where she technically does affect the weather because, after everything that happens with, Pell and flying away the bomb and blah, 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 and I'm not even going to touch that. But there's the moment where, it's like she's basically screaming out because like everybody, the Alabasta guards along with the revolutionaries are like fighting against each other within Alabasta itself, within Alabarna. And she's just like pleading and pleading and pleading from the top of like the clock tower, trying to get, them to hear her. And part of what happens is we see that as she cries out at one point, and like this is like pleas from like the deepest part of her. It cries out, she cries out, and then it starts raining. And, like, we see the moment where it, like, zooms out from the island and then, like, zooms back in. And, and it starts raining, and, like, that just makes everybody stop. And, I could put that, because, like, we've seen, Conqueror's Haki people affect the weather before. We saw that with, like, Whitebeard and Shanks when they clashed. We saw that with Kaido and Big Mom when they clashed on Onigashima. When Luffy and Chinchou fought during the Dressrosa Coliseum fights. They were, like, affecting, like, they were generating electricity and everything with their fights, with their punches and everything. So, I'm not surprised if, like, Conqueror's Haki can affect the weather. And, like, also we kind of see, like, with Big Mom when she, like, activates some of her Conqueror's Haki in Totland, sometimes it does seem to affect some of the weather there. So, like, that concept of, like, it affecting weather isn't really a surprise. And, like, Vivi kind of does that. Like, it does affect the weather. And then the last one that I have here is she puts others first. And with her, this is, she's, she it kind of goes along with the putting herself on the line, but she's willing to, like, blow up the Alabarna Castle, their palace that has been around for, like, 5,000 years, whatever, however long it's been around. I don't remember exactly, but it's been around for a long time. I don't remember exactly how long, but, it's been around for a very long time, and she's willing to blow that up in order to make this statement to get everybody's attention. Admittedly, blowing up your castle is probably not the best idea in the world. That may not be the best idea. But, like, that happens. She's willing to do that. And then we also see when she says goodbye to the Straw Hats because she's willing to stay in her country, because she even admits in the speech that she gives to the Straw Hats, that is, like, broadcast to the rest of the country, of course, that she understands that after everything that her people went through, after everything that her country has just been through, that her place, a better place for her to be, is right there in Alabasta, in Alabarna, with her people, helping to fix what was broken. And that means putting, she wants to go and travel with the Straw Hats. She wants to go and see the world. But here in her country at the moment is where she belongs. And Odin kind of makes that same decision when he chooses to stay when after, the Rogers Pirate List, after they reach Laugh Tale and everything like that, and then they take, Odin back to, Wano and everything like that. There's everything that's going on with Orochi, but he had intended to stay there anyway and try to open up Wano because that was the place he needed to be in order to help fulfill this prophecy and help usher in the next Joy Boy or whatever. So he was willing to do that. He was willing to put what needed to be done first. And that goes into the whole thing of just I need to I have to go dance naked in the streets, which goes back to humility. But the other thing is we've seen Luffy do the same thing. He's put his crew first at times. So often he's, their safety over his need to have a fight. With what happens in Amazon Lily when Hancock turns Margaret and the others into stone, Luffy literally spends part of that whole fight protecting these stone statues from, Sandersonia and Marigold when they're trying to fight him. He keeps protecting these statues, and eventually, Boa is just okay, fine. I give you the choice of I will, give you a ship and get you to where you need to be, or I will turn them back into, I will, make them no longer statues type of a thing. And Luffy literally is just make them, fix them, make them normal again. And it's just these are people that he just met. Type of a thing, and he puts them ahead of what he needs because they're the ones that are in this immediate danger. And then of course he still ends up getting help from Hancock, of course, but that's, I don't remember if that's one of the things that we see is considered to be this quality of a king. I don't know if that's specifically what if Sandersonia or if Marigold mentions that being a quality of a king, but I would say that qualifies because a lot of great kings in history, in our own world, have willingly put themselves on the line or put their people first as opposed to them first. Great kings and great leaders have done that. There's also been terrible kings and terrible leaders that have just, been nothing but horrible to their people. And that's true in our world and true in the One Piece world as well, because Wapol does that. Doflamingo technically does that. Kaido does that. Orochi did that, and even though Orochi doesn't have Conqueror's Haki, I don't think Orochi has the mental capacity to have Conqueror's Haki. I would also say the same thing about Weevil. I don't think Weevil has the mental capacity to have Conqueror's Haki. But we don't know if there is a mental capacity to have Conqueror's Haki or not. We don't know if that's a required thing. You have to at least have a mental capacity to understand what's going on, because at least if you go with levels of intelligence, I would put Luffy above Weevil, which isn't saying much, but I would at least say Luffy is above Weevil in that manner. But out of the Yonko, it's 3 of the 4 Yonko right now, because I don't think Blackbeard has Conqueror's Haki. I wouldn't be surprised if he's at least developed armament and observation Haki at this point in time, but I don't see him having Conqueror's Haki. The only member of his crew I can think of that may have Conqueror's Haki would be, I don't remember who he is. He's the former king, corrupt king or whatever, of all Pizarro, that was his name. He's the only one that I can think of on Blackbeard's crew that would have it, because I don't think Shiryu strikes me as the type that would have Conqueror's Haki. And if it is revealed that Blackbeard has Conqueror's Haki, then okay, whatever, sure, go ahead. But I don't see probably in whatever point in time we get the flashbacks with either Kaido's flashback, we might get revealed Rocks had Conqueror's Haki or whatever, or if we get a flash when we finally find out the true history, we might find out that oh yeah, like Joy Boy probably most definitely had Conqueror's Haki. And like maybe there was like someone else that had Conqueror's Haki in that same time frame. And that wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. But like out of all the other characters that we've been introduced to so far, I would say the next like female candidate that is going to have Conqueror's Haki is Vivi. And I would also put this as whatever happened in Marigeois, whatever just happened in Marigeois, like Vivi, Saba, whatever. They're captured, her father's dead, whatever. I don't know. We'll find out. But whatever happened, I would also put that as something that could be quite, distressful enough to have awoken whatever Conqueror's Haki she had. And it may have already been like partially awakened. And it may be to the point where like she's been like talking, like maybe like if her and Sabo are like in the same cell or like within cells that are close enough to each other, maybe they've been talking. Because like, as I mentioned, he may have found out that like she knew the Straw Hats, blah, 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 blah. And it may have been, it's like they're both chained up in there. And like Vivi doesn't have a devil fruit, but like they have like sea prism stone chains on her as well. So she can't, I guess if she does have power, she can't use it. But like Sabo would definitely have the sea prism stones on him. But Vivi would, maybe she mentions I like this force came out of me and I've been able to like sense other people's emotions recently, since some things have happened with me. I've been having these, ability to like sense people a lot more and like everything like that. Like I can sense good intentions or bad intentions or different things like that. And like maybe Sabo's like, oh, well, that's called Haki. And like he starts to explain to her what Haki is, like armament and observation. And then she says, well, there was this thing that happened and like, I guess like this big burst of something came out of me. And I just, like a bunch of the people around us like fainted or whatever, like fell to their knees. And like Saba's just like, this girl is Conqueror's Haki. And he like explains to her what Conqueror's Haki and he's like, well, Luffy has it too. And like some other people, like maybe he lists off a couple of other people, but like Luffy has it, like, he says like some of that stuff. And he's just like, it means that you have this will of a king that, Conqueror's Haki allows you to like put your will upon others. And that might be what happens. It might be like maybe Vivi witnessed like, it might be that like, oh, they killed her father right in front of her. Or possibly killed him, stabbed him, whatever, right in front of her. And that was just like this moment where she just like mentally broke enough that after seeing what had happened with like Shirahoshi and like all this other stuff, that she just like, it just fully awakens her Conqueror's Haki. And she like just mentions that she's been having like these moments where she can sense things around her a lot more. And like she mentions that like this like they just like whatever, or it could just be a possibility because there is a theory that like Vivi is an ancient weapon. Like Vivi is like Pluton or something, or like a connection to Pluton, which I guess wouldn't surprise anybody, I guess. But I don't know. I know there's that theory out there that like Vivi is this connection to Pluton since Shirahoshi is, Poseidon. But we don't know exactly, but like that wouldn't surprise anyone, I don't think, at this point, considering all the theories that are out there about that. But those are just kind of what I think, that like something may happen and it might be revealed that either Vivi has Conqueror's Haki or she awakens it and then she just learns how to control it. And then when she, at some point, like when like Alabasta like shows up to like help the Straw Hats fight against like whatever the bad guy is, like against Marines or against whatever, that like Vivi and Luffy and Zoro are like all able to use their Conqueror's Haki together, and like Vivi has just become this better fighter type of a thing. Both like maybe she learned how to use like armament Haki and everything, and she like trains, and maybe she has like upgraded forms of her peacock slashers. Those would be fun. Maybe she trained Karu and how to use armament and observation Haki as well. That would be funny. Really fast duck that can use observation Haki. That would be funny. Oh, come on, that would be hilarious. But like I wouldn't be surprised if that ends up happening. But I just wanted to put that out there. I know other people have done, like, I think I looked and like I know some people have done like Vivi and Haki videos, but I just kind of like I wanted to put like my own take on it. So that's what we have. It's a little bit longer than I anticipated, sorry, but I do thank you very much for watching, and I do hope that you have a nice rest of your day. And since I'm going to go see Death on the Nile, I hope that it goes well. So Bye.
This man, he has the qualities of a king, the disposition to stand above others.